Good morning. It always sounds like somebody else when you read that out. My father's very proud, so thank you very much for that introduction. Now, you've all sat there for a while, so it's time for you to do some work. I'm not going to do it all. So I'd like to know who's in the audience. This first one's a bit of a dodgy question. Is there any millennials? Phil, I know you are. Any other millennials? The generation, you're between 18 and 36, never known economic good times, 6-7 times your salary, if that to buy a house. Not looking great for you at the moment. Generation X, who's Generation X? The Friends generation, yuppie generation, a Sloan or a lad, you might know yourselves as. Come on, there's got to be some more Generation X's in the audience. That's me too. You're between 36 and 56. What about the baby boomers? I'm guessing this is our group, the baby boomers. Born after the war, 1945 to 1960, so you're 56 to 70. 3 times your salary was all it took to get a house. So if you're sat next to a millennial, don't quite look them in the eye, because I think we've ruined it all for them. And the quiet generation, born between 1945, we probably haven't got many of those in the room today. Years of rationing. Stop nudging your neighbour over there. He's definitely not from the quiet generation. And probably a really vain hope. Any Generation Z? Younger, under 18? The selfie generation? It's all about me generation. Like many of you, I have got one of those at home, and it is a very different world. The reason I asked that question, and it's useful to find out where you are, because your attitude, your approach towards work, towards technology, and towards change, and we've heard about change, we've got Sam talking about transformation next. It is the buzzwords, other buzzwords out there at the moment. But depending which of those generations you are, it really determines your attitude towards change, and perhaps how up for change you actually are. And we keep talking about this more productive industry, this better industry where you all make more money, where we're all happier, we're more productive, we deliver more stuff. But if we want our industry to get there, the future industry I think we all want to work in, and if we're going to attract the new talent we have got to create, we have got to change our industry. And we are not changing it with a small c, we are changing it with a big capital C. It really is as simple as that. And that means stretching ourselves right out of our comfort zones and moving into places that we really either don't know about, don't want to know about, but really push us where we're perhaps a little bit uncomfortable. And why is it so important? Well, construction is massive. We are about 10% of GDP. We are about 10% of the working population. That means 1 in 10 of the working population works in our industry, and we need them to come and work in our sector. So of every school leaver, of every 10 kids that leave school, we need 1 of them to come and actively work in construction. And James, one of his first questions was about how many of you actively chose to come into this sector. And I suspect if you ask most construction workers, did you actively choose? We all kind of fall into construction. We find ourselves here rather than actively saying, do you know what? That's the career for me. We're a pretty good bet for the UK government as well. Every £1 spent in construction, 90p stays in the UK. So that money actually helps generate the UK economy. We're really good for business, we're really good for the government. The total value of construction is about 90 billion. So for a sector that is 10% of GDP, one of the biggest sectors, we actually don't do a great job of getting government's attention, and I'll come on to what we're doing as Build UK to change that. Because we are so large, that is actually a great strength. We're big, we deserve attention. Nobody can do anything without construction. They can't deliver anything, they can't sell anything, they can't even flush the toilet without construction. But we've always found it very, very difficult to get government's attention, so it pulls big levers. We always go and ask for lots of little things rather than one big things. And you'll see from this chart, construction actually mirrors the UK economy in terms of how it performs and how it's delivering. And you can see we're in that little dip at the moment. At 2019, Noble's going to probably come and talk statistics, aren't you? This is your bag, not mine. It looks like we're going to go up next year, Noble. Are you going to really disappoint us all and bring us crashing down to earth? No. All right. So if we all want, so we're really, really important, which is why when we talk about margins, we talk about productivity, and we talk about our financial viability, it is why we are so important that we address those for the UK economy, because if we're doing well, the economy is doing well. If we're crashing, the economy is crashing. So we're really, really important and really valued. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like that. And we've had quite a year. I think without Carillion and without Grenfell, I think I could have done a huge amount of other things. And would you believe it's a year, almost a year, since we came back after Christmas to the collapse of Carillion. But they really are a wake-up call for our industry. My presentation is called Catalyst for Change. If we don't change after the events of this year, this is it, guys. This is what you've got. Because if they don't change our behaviours and our performance, whether you're a client, a supplier, a contractor, wherever you are in the whole construction supply chain, if they don't make us change, nothing will. So they really are a catalyst, and I am determined that we use them to create and make those changes, because it really showed in its glory how our sector operates. So this is really starting to show you age. How many of you recognise this gentleman on the screen? Yeah, there's quite a few nods, a few hands going up. For those of you who don't, which probably means you're at the bottom end of Generation X and a millennial, this is the Marlborough Man. Back in the 1950s, 1960s, every man in this room wanted to be the Marlborough Man. Every girl in this room, we wanted our man to be the Marlborough Man. He was so cool as the Marlborough Man, and he advertised Marlborough cigarettes. How many of you today smoke? I'll have words with you afterwards, Mr. Crook. Right, I think 2 or 3 hands went up there. How many of you had parents who smoke, or have parents who smoke or smoked? Right, that is probably about 80% of you. That is generational change. My Father's Day present for my dad used to be a tin of Navy Cut and a packet of pipe cleaners. How on PC is that? My daughter, who is 13, will now look at people who smoke and say, why would they want to do that and kill themselves? That is generational change. It's taken 50 years. You're all buying new trainers and going to the gym way further than we used to. So that's generational change, and that's the kind of thing that it looks like. Next one, Generation X will certainly remember this. I clearly can't talk about who fronted this advertising campaign. Yeah, there's a few. Oh, I say that's a bit lively. Clunk, click, even on the shortest trip. How many of you remember this? Right? So those of us who we grew up in a time where you didn't have seatbelts in cars, and you would rattle around in the back seat wherever you went because nobody had seatbelts. Indeed, you didn't rattle around because there were probably 6 of you wedged into the back seat to get where you were going, because you only probably knew one car between the lot of you. Anyone know when seatbelts were first fitted as standard? First fitted in the Volvo in 1963. They became mandatory in front seats in 1983 and mandatory in the back of the car just in 1991. I don't know, I'm Generation X. 1991 feels about yesterday, to be honest, but 1991. So that's change across 30 years. And those of you who've got children, young children or grandchildren, they will now get in their car seat. They will now get in their car seat, and the first thing they will do, even toddlers, will clip themselves in to their car seat. It is just, you would not think of getting into a car without doing up your seatbelt and harder, but it's not that long ago. So 30, so we're getting quicker at this change, Lark. And how many of you have got one of these? Probably, has anybody not got a mobile phone? I think even my nan's got a mobile phone. Any idea how long we've had them? How long we had the iPhone? About 12 years now, and the iPad about 9 years. What did we do before? I can walk, I'm like the Queen now, I can walk out of my house with my iPhone. I have a map, I have money, I have a camera, I have absolutely everything. I actually don't buy anything if they require real money these days. If they don't take my phone, I'm not having it. It's as simple as that. And this has happened, we've just said, in the last 12 years. We cannot go out without our phones. It's become our lives. So we've actually almost accelerated that change. So I'm using all of this just to demonstrate if the conditions are right, if the technology is there and it makes your life better, actually we're pretty good at change. We don't like it, it doesn't always feel good, but actually we're quite capable of making change. So I have faith that this great big industry that I love and that many of you in this room love, we can actually change, but the conditions have to be right. But we are part of that. So, who in this room, and I know you generally will supply to the industry, so often I'm talking to your customers, the contractors or the clients, and contractors at all levels, from tier 1 major contractors down to very small specialist contractors. Who in this room would like change, would like better margins, would like more productivity, would like to go home at 5 o'clock in the evening with a lot less to worry about? Yeah? Right, quite a few nods. So when you say who wants change, everybody puts their hands up. Everybody thinks we want change and we can do better. But when I put this slide up, who wants to change? Who wants to change? Right, there's a few hands going up. Much less easy to answer the question who wants to change. Because what you actually find, certainly in this industry, always somebody else's fault. It's not me. If my client briefed better, or the designer designed better, or they procured the project in a different way, or there was a different contract, or there wasn't a tea and Tuesday, if somebody else did something different, my life would be better. But as you all know, it's not quite how it works. If we want this industry to change, we have to make those changes. And when I say we, that is the royal we, that is every one of you in this room, has to do something different than you are doing today if you want a better industry. Otherwise, this is how it is. And don't come and talk to me about training and the need to attract more people and the need to make more money, because if you don't change, the industry won't change, and therefore we cannot change the environment in which we all work. So I'm a girl that practices what I preach. So 4 years ago, we had the conversation about creating Build UK, about bringing the supply chain together, initially the contracting supply chain. I would sit around tables talking to government. There are 230 trade bodies in construction. There's not a room big enough in government for all the trade bodies to come with their own little pet issues about what government should do to make their life better. So I sat in enough rooms with 12, 13, 14 people where the industry would wash its dirty linen in front of government, and government basically said, guys, you don't even know what you're talking about. I will decide what happens to you. And I sat there thinking, I don't want you to decide what happens to us. I want the industry to decide what we need to do and then come back to government and say, I need you to do this one big thing. We will push the buttons, you government pull this lever. And an opportunity arose to bring together the tier 1 major contractors and the specialist contractors, the supply chain. And I think that demonstrated how far we came as NFRC, because we were capable and we were large enough and we were strong enough by that stage to say, let's do it. Somebody said, you'll never do it. Brilliant, I like a challenge. Within 12 months, we had pulled together and created Build UK. And initially, we brought together the tier 1 contractors and the specialist contractors. And those of you suppliers in this room come into Build UK because you belong to organisations like NFRC, and they, as a trade body, are in membership of Build UK. And pretty quickly, when you've got the major contractors and the specialists around the table, and everybody said it wouldn't be pretty and there'd be blood on the table, do you know, I was actually quite surprised at how easy the conversations were. Because ultimately, you all want the same thing. You want a good business, and you want to enjoy it, and you want to make some money. And everybody wanted to do that. And you've all got the same problems wherever you are in the supply chain. So if you fix the big ticket items, everybody's business, everybody's life gets that little bit better. We then had clients come and say, well, blimey, this is fantastic. We can talk to the whole supply chain together. We don't need to speak to lots of different people. We can come and have a grown-up conversation. So we've now got 15 or 16 major construction clients and developers within membership. We then actually had them saying, because it's always somebody else's fault to say, whoever's not around the table, it's their fault. It's the advisors, the consultants. So they're now joining, because they're saying, yeah, we know we need to change, but we all need to change the same things together. We all need to hold hands and jump out of the aeroplane with a parachute together if we're going to fix the industry. And we also brought together, we call them alliance members, people who want to help, people like the CIOB, NHBC, ICE, have come and said, we want to be part of this conversation. And we've got public sector clients, Network Rail coming on board, Highways Agency, the Department for Education, ESFA, that builds the schools. They're all starting to come around the table saying, we're up for change and we know we need to do our bit. How do we all do it together? So we're not all running separately. How do we, I always say, I'm not going to row a boat down the Thames and have a pint at Isleworth. I want us all on a cruise ship going to New York with some champagne. So we created Build UK, and I'm really clear also about prioritising. We cannot do everything. We are a small team. Contractors are not known for their deep pockets, and that is what funds us. So we really spent time looking at what are the big ticket items that we need to fix. What will make the boat go faster? What will make things better? And they are not the easy things. When somebody looks at me and says, so you haven't fixed payment yet, the 100-year-old problem that has been in this industry and our whole business model is predicated on the way we pay. That is not a quick fix, but we are making progress. So we identified three core priorities. Improving business performance. How do you stop transferring inappropriate risk down the supply chain to your contractors that then default on payments to you? How do we make construction a better answer for everybody so the whole size of the construction cake gets bigger, there is more work for everybody, and they buy more stuff from you? That has got to be better for everybody. In fixing payment, you'll have noticed earlier this year we benchmarked our contractor members' performance on payment. It wasn't great. It was quite a wobbly week, I can tell you that much, with the contractors the week before saying, you're actually going to publish our payment performance. Yep. I said we'd do it, we're going to do it. But it's not great. No, but you've got to start somewhere, and it's transparent. So we published the contractors' payment performance. Clearly those at the top of the league said, this is smashing. Those at the bottom went, not very happy with this. We're just having the second set of figures come back in. The first couple of I've seen, they've changed. They've really suddenly realised that what they were doing wasn't great. We're now publishing client payment terms. Because this isn't a blame game. This is about where does the money stick, how do we make it flow? We're looking at publishing specialist contractors. There's some already in there. They're not great. I think they thought they'd be better, but they're not. The specialist contractors aren't great. So there's actually how do we get cash flowing through this industry so we can all invest? Increasing productivity. Fixing PQ. No more massive long vans with all your stickers down the side. There's going to be one when we get this. And we'll be soft launching that in March. NFC will be able to be part of that. They're already involved in the PQ project. It is a big ticket item. It's a big win. Imagine filling out one pre-qual form a year and everybody accepting that. Just sit and work out how much money that will save you as a business. It will save about £1 billion across the industry if every client, every contractor and every specialist contractor recognises the core industry standard. And recruiting, training and retaining talent. It's not just about attracting people, and I can't keep shouting to attract people if when they come in, the industry's pretty ropey in the way we employ people. We've got to be better at how we employ people. If one more person says to me, why don't you go out and attract more women in the industry? I can spend a long time up here telling you why you will never get more women in the industry. We're not even attracting our core young men into our industry at the moment because we all want things like more flexible working, a nice employer. We like nice working conditions. And you heard Stephen say earlier, I think this would be a pretty fantastic workplace, wouldn't it? Not enough fresh air for me, and I get the rest of you quite like to be outside. But recruiting, training, and retaining, then training them. How do we ensure CITB is performing for us and using our living money effectively for us to train with the skills we want, not the easy peasy training, more health and safety, more this, more that, core skills that enable the contractors out on site to fit your stuff so it delivers top-notch quality, and then actually I come back to I can get rid of retentions if I don't actually have an industry that has a quality issue. But also, how do we keep people in our workforce? How do they stick with us? How do we grow and how do we develop them? How, when we do attract women, when they go out to have their children, how do we bring them back into our businesses in a way that retains the workforce? And we're doing a huge piece of work in terms of the training that we deliver and how we get people through the apprenticeship and the college system. And two facts always stand up to me. There's something like 80% of kids that go to do a construction course at college drop out and don't make it into our industry. So for every 100 people we train, we only get 20 of them in the industry. That is massive waste. And the other one is, we've got a massive skills challenge apparently. 35,000 kids applied for an apprenticeship in construction. We offered them as a sector 3,500 apprenticeships. So what happened, those 35,000 kids, might not have wanted half of them. I don't know what the quality was like. But what happened to those 30-odd thousand kids who didn't get offered an apprenticeship? So actually, once we start to fix that, and once we start to deal with that, we can actually do it. And we don't write reports. There have been 16 industry reports since 2016, and nothing has changed. We do stuff, and we make it happen. And we need your help to help us make those happen. And it's back to those changes that we all need to make and stop doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. And you, as part of NFRC, and in turn part of Build UK, can help us drive that forward and get the outcome that we want. I'm going to show you one thing that demonstrated when we got together, we actually put together as the whole of Build UK, which just started to demonstrate the impact that we can have if we work collectively. It doesn't take a lot of money, it doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. I'm looking at my... This is the digital future, guys. Every time I see that film, I think, God, if after that you don't fancy a career in our industry, then we really are doing something wrong. And this is one thing you can walk away from here today. First of all, two things. That film is available from our website. Any school visit you do, any kid that says to you, I'm quite interested in construction, what could I do? Just show them that video. And the second thing you can do is open one of your sites, your projects, your factories, particularly you guys, your warehouses, anything during Open Doors Week in March next year, 18th to 23rd of March, where you let local school children, you let visitors come into your workplace during a planned week and show them what you do. Show them what we're made of and inspire them to say, do you know what? I quite fancy a bit of this. How do I get into construction? So you can all do that as part of Build UK. You can go and register your site and speak to my colleague, Emily. James can send you in the right direction. There you go, James. If you have the capability, the more projects we have across the country that young people can say, brilliant, I can come and have a look what goes on in my local community. That's your future workforce. The other thing you can do is sponsor a kid on a Bridge into Construction course. You don't need to give them any financial support. You need to partner with them and give them work experience, again, in your local business, so they actually get a taste for construction, so then they go, actually, I want to stay in that industry. That is your future recruitment pool, because the next thing they'll say is, can you give me an apprenticeship? Can I come and work from you? You've got a skills shortage. You can help fix it if we provide the framework. And I like in Build UK, we've had a bit of rugby today. We've had a bit of sport all over, haven't we? To the British Lions. A bit of a rugby girl myself. Anyway, all shapes and sizes on the team, all nations on the team, but they come together to win. And Build UK is all about us putting aside the differences and saying, if we're all on the same kit, and we're all looking at the same pitch, and we're all going to play by the same rules, we can have a cracking good game out there. And my personal view, it doesn't matter if you're in the crowd cheering them on, if you're cutting up the oranges at half-time, or you're kicking the ball between those posts, you're all part of the team, and it takes every single one of them to create the industry that we want. So thank you very much. I hope I haven't gone over time. I'm looking at Sam. I'm going to run this way. So thank you very much for your time and your attention.